Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something really quite extraordinary. Imagine a figure, world famous, basically a global icon of respectability.
A galantuomo, as they'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, a two-time Nobel winner, author of these massive philosophical works, The Transformation of the Beast.
Right. And this celebrated figure arrives in Venice, not for some lecture tour, but for, well, what turns out to be a kind of final frantic reckoning.
And that figure, maybe surprisingly, is Professor Pinocchio, who is the original Pinocchio from the story.
Exactly. And the source we're diving into is Robert Coover's novel, Pinocchio in Venice. It's got this incredible premise. The original puppet turned boy, now an old man, returns to where it all began.
Only to find his body is, well, literally turning back into wood, painfully, agonizingly.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack that journey. Coover uses this beloved character, Pinocchio, to explore some really heady themes, wouldn't you say, like modern disillusionment, the whole nature of humanity.
Flesh versus wood, essentially. And he sets it all against this backdrop of a decaying, almost grotesque, carnivalesque Venice. It's quite the trip.
A dark pilgrimage, as you put it earlier, a reckoning with a life built on, well, magic that now seems to be dissolving.
So Professor Pinocchio, he arrives in Venice carrying, the full weight of this incredible legacy. He's seen worldwide as the symbol of industry, veracity, and civility.
He's the success story. Dignified, respected, wealthy. He should be getting the red carpet treatment.
But he gets the exact opposite. Almost the second he steps off the train, Venice just rejects him. He lands in this district, occupaciturli.
Which means?
Fool's trap. Pretty fitting, unfortunately. His entire identity, this esteemed persona he's built over a lifetime, it just crumbles instantly.
And the physical side kicks in really fast, too, doesn't it? The sources describe it vividly.
Oh, yeah. It's horrifying. He feels his knees stiffening up, these locked up wooden knees, and this just dreadful certainty. He knows he's turning back to wood again.
His human body is failing him, but the city itself is just as hostile.
Absolutely. The humiliation is brutal. He gets arrested, not for some grand intellectual crime, but for, well, it's almost comical if it weren't so awful. Indecent exposure, disturbing the peace, suspected terrorist activities, and polluting the environment.
Polluting? How?
It's never really clear. They just pile it on. They call him names, shrunken scrotum, piece of garbage. It's this total inversion of his status. The system doesn't see the Nobel laureate. It just sees this vagrant, this puppet.
Wow. The sheer indignity of it. And then the worst professional blow imaginable happens.
His bags get stolen.
Containing everything.
Everything. His life's work, his computer, all his notes, his discs, and crucially, his mama manuscript.
That final epic tribute he was writing for the blue-haired fairy.
Yeah. He literally cries out that the computer has his whole life in it. Losing that manuscript is like losing his soul, the philosophical endpoint of his entire human journey. Venice doesn't just attack his body, it strips him of his mind, his legacy.
He's left exposed, physically reverting, legally tangled, intellectually naked. He went looking for mythic truth and found a petty, cynical trap instead.
Pretty much. He traded everything that made him human in the world's eyes and lost it all on arrival.
And this whole search plays out against Venice itself, which Coover paints as this paradox, right?
Totally. It's described as the noblest of cities, this vast and sumptuous pile, but Pinocchio sees through it immediately. He calls it a stinking bordello.
It's beautiful on the surface, but rotten underneath. Kind of like, well, maybe like Pinocchio's own carefully constructed human life, perhaps.
That's a great way to put it. The sources really hammer home this idea of Venice as relentless artifice. Coover uses phrases like fakes within fakes, deceptions upon deceptions.
So things like virtue, truth, and beauty, they just don't apply there.
They're irrelevant, which makes it the perfect crucible for Pinocchio, whose entire existence is based on this magical transformation, a transformation that might just be the biggest deception of all.
I remember reading about the atmosphere dazzlingly sinister. That really stuck with me, even the snow.
Yeah, the snow. It's not purifying. It's just another mask. It makes the whole city feel blank, expressionless, like one of those creepy bawdy masks they wear at Carnival, hiding something grotesque.
And realizing all this just makes Pinocchio sink deeper into despair, doesn't it?
It does. Because he understands he hasn't just returned to the city of his miraculous birth as a human. He's also back at the scene of his biggest childhood screw-up.
The Field of Miracles, where he buried the coins.
Exactly. Where the fox and the cat tricked him into burying his gold, thinking it would grow into a money tree. He's forced to see that his sophisticated adult life hasn't actually moved him beyond that original gullible mistake.
He's still looking for some kind of magic payout, in a way.
Right. He sees the pattern. And he has this bleak thought that every single visitor leaves Venice poorer. His whole quest for human distinction, it just led him right back to the original con. Maybe the distinction was the con.
But amidst all this decay and betrayal, there is one small spark of, well, something good. He bumps into an old face.
Yeah, Alidoro, the police mastiff, remember, the one who chased him way back when.
Oh, right. What's he like now?
Well, he's old, pretty much toothless, broke, living rough in a boatyard. But it's this really touching reunion.
How does he even recognize Pinocchio?
It's fantastic. Not by his fancy clothes or anything. Alidoro recognizes him because he gave off the smell of Holmog.
Wow. His original wood scent?
Exactly. It cuts through the whole human facade. And even though the police are still mocking Pinocchio, calling him little testa di cazzo, Alidoro fiercely defends him. Says they saved each other's lives once, that they're like bread and cheese.
That's actual loyalty.
Pure animal loyalty. Alidoro and another dog, Melampeda, give him shelter. He's literally back among the wood chips and sawdust. It's a brief moment of finding his roots, you could say.
But that loyalty stands in stark contrast to what comes next.
Oh, absolutely. Enter Eugenio, his old schoolmate. Now he's the director of some big company, Amino e Fili, SRL. And he shows up looking like Pinocchio's savior.
Offering him luxury, a fancy place to stay.
The Palazzo di Balacchi, no less. Eugenio lays it on thick, praising Pinocchio's career, listing his awards, even mentioning his refusal to back the Nuke the Whales campaign.
Wait, Nuke the Whales? Is that real?
In the book, yeah. It's this absurd marker of political correctness that Eugenio uses to flatter him. He seems like the ultimate admirer.
Seems like, but you know there's a butt coming.
There is. Pinocchio starts to get this dawning horror. Eugenio is Lamino, the little man, the guy who ran Toyland, his childhood nemesis.
No, the place where boys turned into donkeys.
The very same. And that's a key point Coover makes. The chaotic fun of Toyland has now become slick, corporate, industrialized evil. Eugenio is the modern face of that same destructive impulse.
And he's not just being nice, is he? He's actively betraying Pinocchio.
Totally. Systematically. Pinocchio finds out his credit cards are maxed out, his retirement funds have vanished. Eugenio is literally stealing his identity, even trying to claim credit for Pinocchio's work.
How does Pinocchio finally confirm it's him?
There's this truly chilling moment. Colombo, his old pigeon friend, tries to warn Pinocchio. Eugenio sees this, walks over to the pigeon, acting all kind and gentle.
Oh, no.
And then just steps on its head, crushes it. Right there on the pavement. Just like that. Utterly cold.
That tells you everything you need to know about him. Pure malice hiding behind a smile.
Exactly. It shows he's not just a thief, he's the embodiment of calculated cruelty. And sadly, that loyalty we saw earlier doesn't end well either. Alidoro, the faithful mastiff, he drowns later trying to save Pinocchio from a canal after another betrayal.
So loyalty just gets you killed in this Venice?
Seems that way. Only the treacherous thrive.
Okay, let's get back to that central image, the reversion to wood. It sounds incredibly painful, physically grotesque.
It is. Coover doesn't shy away from the details. Pinocchio is literally shrinking, becoming no bigger than a piece of cheese. His skin is peeling off like old wallpaper.
But it's not a clean process, is it?
Not at all. That's the point. While the wood underneath is hardening, the bits of flesh, his human parts, they cling on tenaciously and bloodily. Coover calls it a stubborn reprimand. It's like the human identity, the achievement, the flesh he earned, refuses to let go without this agonizing fight.
His dignity is literally flaking off, and this physical breakdown seems tied to his whole life's purpose, right? The blue-haired fairy.
Absolutely. She was everything to him. His cynosure, his guiding star. The reason he spent his entire life striving for virtue, for decency, for what he wrote that famous essay about I-ness.
I-ness. What exactly did he mean by that? Can you unpack that a bit?
Well, as I understand it from the text, I-ness for Pinocchio was about forging a unique, coherent human self. Through hard work, telling the truth, being civil, all the things the fairy taught him. He believed he could overcome his chaotic puppet origins and create this stable, rational, autonomous identity. The I.
And the fairy was the engine behind that whole project.
She was.
Oh.
But now, as he's falling apart, he starts to see the downside, the cost. He remembers her ruthless pieties.
Oh, me.
Meaning he starts to recognize the manipulation, the guilt trips. He recalls how when he was a naughty puppet, she'd pretend to faint, go limp and cold, and fall down with her eyes rolled back, weaponizing her supposed fragility to keep him in line.
So his whole virtuous life wasn't really self-created freedom, but more like Fear-based compliance.
That seems to be the realization dawning on him, yeah. The eye wasn't freely chosen, it was built on her terms, enforced by emotional blackmail. The wood returning is almost like his true, chaotic nature finally rebelling against that imposed morality.
The wood is honest in a way the flesh wasn't.
Perhaps. And this confusion reaches its peak in this truly bizarre scene. Pinocchio, probably delirious by this point, confronts Eugenio,
The ultimate villain.
thinking he's the blue-haired fairy.
What? How?
Eugenio's actually put on some costume like a bodice and wig, calling himself the Queen of the Night. He's mocking everything Pinocchio ever believed in.
So Pinocchio confronts his tormentor, thinking he's found his moral guide. That's devastating.
It gets worse. Eugenio just laughs at him and claims Pinocchio gave him everything, his money, his reputation, all of it. Willingly. It's the final nail in the coffin. The fairy's guidance, his moral compass, it wasn't just an illusion, it was actively leading him straight into the hands of the ultimate con man.
This whole nightmare spirals towards the carnival climax. Pinocchio hits rock bottom, basically.
Completely. He's being dragged across the Piazza San Marco in a cart. And get this. He's dressed in a donkey suit, made of pizza dough.
Pizza dough.
Seriously. The final irony, they're billing him as the star of the dance for the big gala.
Wow. So he's literally become a spectacle, a joke. Trapped in the symbol of his past failure, the donkey, and made edible.
Exactly. He's pure consumption now, and he gets it. He fully understands he's trapped in his own self-deception. He has this awful epiphany. I-quarterness is an illness. The very self he spent his life building is now the source of all his pain.
And does the crowd actually?
Oh yeah, the crowd, many of them wearing Pinocchio masks themselves, which is another layer of weirdness, they just descend on him. They start trying to literally eat the pizza dough costume off him.
Oh, grief. It's pure grotesque appetite. No more illusions about civilization there.
None. But even in this total degradation, he manages one final, almost accidental act of, well, justice, retribution.
What happens?
They wheel him back to his rooms. He's lost everything. But he finds this last surge of strength. Maybe it's just pure wooden rage. He grabs his stolen computer, the symbol of his lost human legacy, and shoves it out the window.
Yeah.
And down below, there's this sickening aethic. It lands right on Eugenio. Kills him instantly.
Wow. Accidental justice. But how does Pinocchio react? Is he triumphant?
That's the fascinating part. No. He weeps. Deeply. He didn't want that. He didn't want to kill him.
So even after everything, that core of goodness, decency, it's still there.
It seems so. The fairy's lessons, maybe twisted as they were, they stuck. He retains that essential good heart, even though the world forced him into this violent, chaotic act to survive.
What happens to him then?
He's kind of rescued by his old puppet buddies, the Burattini. They suddenly appear from the carnival crowds, hoisting him up like a hero because he killed their enemy, the little man.
A hero made of sawdust.
Pretty much. He notes his insides feel like wet sawdust. The reversion is basically complete. And then, in the very last moments, they're wheeling him towards this little white house, like the fairy's original cottage, or maybe a church.
And he sees her again.
Sort of. He confronts this vision, but it's not the old fairy. It's this modern version, Bluebell, an American student chewing gum, laughing, offering him fun and pleasure.
The exact things he was taught to avoid his whole life.
The very things he saw as fatal temptations. So he's left there, basically wooden, celebrated by puppets, facing this new, casual, pleasure-seeking fairy, just trying to figure out how to make a good exit. What does that even mean anymore?
So, wrapping up this deep dive into Coover's sources, we've seen this stark contrast, haven't we? Pinocchio, the famous professor, the most distinguished wooden knob,
Versus Pinocchio, the decaying puppet, lost in this maze of betrayal and realizing his whole human life might have been a painful illusion. Coover seems to suggest that the pursuit of that rational, civilized I-ness, that human virtue, maybe it only leads to suffering.
and the realization that maybe the flesh was the real lie all along.
Yeah. And Pinocchio has this terrifying thought right near the end, aboard a boat, feeling utterly lost. He wonders if his entire life, the Nobels, the books, the respect, was maybe just the dying dream of that poor drowned donkey.
Which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to chew on. If achievement, status, and dignity of the flesh are ultimately revealed as fragile, maybe even deceptive, what real value is left in embracing the wood? That chaotic, messy, maybe more honest, but definitely grotesque and painful existence.